Welcome back to the Fulfilled Female Entrepreneur Podcast. It's your host, Cassandra Rosa. I'm a certified coach and healer and intuitive business coach, and the mission behind this podcast is to help you to create a fulfilling life and business. Today, I'm excited to be talking all about self-love and its deeper meaning. I'm so excited to be recording this episode today for the day it will be released. It'll be Valentine's Day. So if you're watching it today, happy Valentine's Day. I hope that you're having a fabulous day, spending it with the people that you love most, and cultivating some time to be able to express self-love. I felt really inspired to talk about this topic today in lieu of this very special day that is all about love. I know we can get caught up in the materialistic side of it at times, and that can be the focus of gifts and all of those things. But I think it really comes down to really being in this beautiful frequency of love and all that that means. So, as much as it's about romantic, encounters and the way that it's marketed, I think it's also a beautiful day to show yourself love in so many beautiful ways. So I'm sure as we're scrolling on social media today, there's going to be tons of self-love posts that are going to be filled with things like having bubble baths and doing things like meditation and, doing face masks and whatever it may be. Those are often the things that are talked about a lot when it comes to self-love. And I think that that can be really big and connected to marketing as well. That's why, that can be the focus at times, right? But I found that in my journey of self-love, I have incorporated those things, those materialistic things, and they've contributed so much to the way that I am showing love to myself by prioritizing time to do things that make me feel good and bring joy. But I feel like there's been so much more to self-love. And as my journey has progressed with self-development and spirituality, the self-love that I've started to have for myself have emerged in so many beautiful ways, and especially recently. So I've been an entrepreneur for the past 5 years, and I have been consistent, showing up online, offering courses, creating content. And in the beginning of this year, I felt that same kind of fiery manifestor energy that I have to make this the best year yet. And this year, lots of things started to come to a head. There was some personal things that are going on in which kind of came out of nowhere and shook me up in so many beautiful ways for my highest and best growth, of course. And with that being said, I found myself at this stage of wanting to create a deeper love within. I acknowledge that due to some external circumstances that came up, I started to become guarded in my relationship, in the content that I was posting, and feeling like there was a little bit of disconnection happening within. So it was happening without in aspects of my life. So within that time, I started to realize the and it's still ever unfolding, but this need of being able to pull back the layers and to go deeper within and cultivate a deeper love within myself than I've never had before. So it's been such a beautiful journey. And I really wanted to unpack that today of how I have been redefining self love for me and my life, and really inviting you to go deeper into this topic and really redefine it and connect with it at its true essence. So, with that being said, when things were coming to a head, I really got this call to create more space in my life, which means that I put a pause on creating lots of content. My social media has very much been a podcast page lately, and that's totally okay. Kind of promoting all of the beautiful recordings that I have created for you all. And in my Facebook group, I'd posted multiple times a week for 5 years. And I put a halt on it and said that I was going to be taking a sabbatical. And if anyone knows me, you know how much I love my business, you know how much I love sharing wisdom. It's here, what I'm on this earth to do. So taking that time to be able to put that pause was so huge. And it was an act of self-love for myself, giving myself that space to really go within and cultivate more deeper of a self-awareness. When we're caught up in the hustle and the bustle of life, when we're caught up in this energizer bunny mode, there is so much movement happening in our lives, and that can often create a little bit of disconnection within ourselves. And I really became aware that I needed that spaciousness for myself to be able to heal, to be able to understand all of the different elements of my life that I've been called to break through. So that's what I did for myself. I created space. And I think that this is also one of the biggest acts of self love because it takes a lot of courage to create space for yourself to go within, to cultivate that self awareness and that deeper self discovery. So I think it doesn't necessarily have to be so vast of putting a pause on business or relationships or whatever it may be. I think it's giving yourself that permission and that form of self-love to cultivate the space to go within consistently on a day-to-day basis of like sitting in solitude and stillness, even if it's for 15 minutes, to check in with yourself and to see how it is that you're doing and what it is that you need and what it is that your soul and body and mind are asking of you. So, if you're looking for practices and practical ways to cultivate self love as you're watching this video or listening to this podcast episode, I think a good question to ask yourself is, how can I cultivate more space in my life to go within? I'm going to say that again to hit it home. How can I cultivate more space in my life to go within? So, creating that, waking up 15 minutes earlier, and we're going to bed 15 minutes later to do that, or having a lunch break instead of having like a coffee break, like that we've been conditioned to do in the middle of the day, of excusing yourself and going into a quiet room and cultivating that space to check in with yourself. It's just like how you would check in with a friend and you would call and see how they're doing. It's that same thing, but for yourself. So creating that spaciousness, I think, is really huge. And when you have that spaciousness, you're often having a time to kind of connect within into your intuition. So that's something I've really been prioritizing, is showing my intuition, showing my true self some love by connecting with it and listening to it. So I think it's kind of a two-stepper. While you're in that stillness, when you have that space for that awareness to be able to listen, but it's also to be able to act in alignment with it, right? And trust it. So we're going to get into the trust in a second. So let's start with this whole listening piece. So when we go through life, we have these gut instincts of what we feel like is best for us. Maybe it's your friends are going asking you to go out and you just feel like you need a night in, and your gut just tells you, "Ugh, let's stay home tonight." Maybe it's you're making a choice about two decisions and you feel in your heart and soul that this decision is best for you, but you're scared about what other people are going to think about it. So you find yourself reverting to people pleasing, right? That is at this like critical choice point where you can choose to listen to your intuition or choose the other path that doesn't feel aligned. So it's really important to be able to listen to those whispers, to those gut instincts, and to act upon them. It's really, really huge. And I've seen that in myself. I've had to make a lot of big decisions lately in which, other people's beliefs maybe weren't in alignment with it. Or making a intuitive decision, but my logical part of my mind was kind of freaking out about it, right? So I think there's something to be said about creating that space to listen to your intuition, listening to those whispers, but then also acting in alignment with it is so, so huge. And that's a form of self-love because that is like cultivating this inward connection and doing what's best for you at your core as your intuition, doing what's best for you at your core, right? That's kind of alleviating these things like people pleasing or worrying about what people are going to think of you, or judgments of self or others people judgments of you, or the path you thought that it should have been, right? It's really embodying these senses of self-trust and surrender and faith, and hope and all these big, beautiful things that at times we want to resist, right? We go to the logical, we create this mistrusting in our intuitive gifts that all of us have inside of us, those gut instincts, right? We revert to the mistrust and we revert to the pushing of away of all of these things. But it's really an invitation for us to be able to start to create that listening aspect of our intuition and to act in according with it. Another form of self love that has really been unfolding for me is this whole concept of self trust, of like knowing what's best for you, like only you know what's best for you, and really leaning into that and cultivating that and knowing that trust, knowing that self love are so deeply intertwined. To love yourself is to trust yourself, to trust your intuition, to trust your gut instincts, right? To make big steps for yourself because you trust yourself. Doing things outside of your comfort zone because you know that you're capable, living courageously, right? These are forms of self love for ourselves, right? In which we are taking the steps, even though we're so scared, even though it feels like the world is crashing down, but knowing that that is a form of love for ourselves and honoring of ourselves, right? There's been so many decisions that I've made in life that intuitively and soulfully I knew would be the best for me. That would, not be in alignment with what other people wanted for me for career, of leaving a stable job, and all the fears that came along with that within self and with others, specific relationship decisions, wanting to put out into the universe this desire to be able to move somewhere tropical. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see all these beach houses behind me on my vision board, right? Like it's it's a form of trust and courage and love to be able to lean into that and to honor yourself and honor your goals and dreams, even when they're not understood entirely by yourself or by others. So that is such a deep form of self-love that I feel like not a lot of people are talking about. How big of a deal it is to take those steps and how deeply connected that is to the ability to love yourself. Just like starting a business, right? You're having like this a business idea, and every year goes by, and you're like, I'm gonna start my business this year. I'm gonna start my business this year. When you finally do it, that is showing yourself how much you love yourself because you know that you can trust your ability to make it happen. You can trust the resilience. You can show yourself this courage and action to be able to move forward. And the last piece I really want to touch on today, that is a form of self love, is acting in alignment with yourself. We know what's best for us. We know by going for a walk outside every day, even though it's kind of cold, is a form of self love. We know working out, even though we want to hit the snooze button, is a form of self love. We know that like going out every single weekend and drinking and partying is not a form of self love. So that alignment piece of like real truly connecting inward and being like, what is good for me and what am I no longer feeling in alignment with, and acting in accordance to that is such a form of self-love. So for myself, I have pretty much given up caffeine and like coffee. I haven't been having caffeine since the beginning of this year because I was realizing how it was affecting me, how it was affecting my nervous system. And I acknowledge that that wasn't in alignment, and I've been acting in alignment with it. And it's just such a different experience, and it's such something of honor and something that I'm proud of because I have been like living and breathing coffee for like since 2014, right? For a decade, right? Like that's been such a big part of my life. Right? Same with alcohol. I've maybe drank once celebratory with a friend in the past, like since the year has started. And that was something else of realizing, that's no longer in alignment with the frequency that I want to be in. So sometimes making these adjustments, especially when they've become so ingrained and so kind of like an airplane mode thing of like going downstairs and grabbing the cup of coffee to start the day, like whatever that may be for you, really choosing that it's not for you and living in alignment with it is like such a big thing. It is such a big act of self-love because you feel like so much love for yourself when you're doing it. You feel so much pride, you feel so much confidence when you're doing those little things for yourself. It's like, so as much as it's taking certain things out of your routine and out of your life and your lifestyle, it could be adding those things in, right? Of like, okay, you know what? Like, I really want to stop this scrolling right before I go to bed. That's something also I've been working on and on my vision board for this year. So I've been reading like books on Kobo before I go to sleep. Doing those things that are in alignment for your highest, from your best good, for your growth, for your mind, body, and soul. That is such a huge thing for self love. So I know I've shared a lot today. I know that I'm starting to go a little bit even more deeper with my content, and I want to invite you over to my free Facebook group called Fulfilled Female Entrepreneurs, where I'm actually launched a Going Deeper series where I'm going to be sharing more in depth stories and more about all the things that I have learned, uncovered, and gone deep in my own life. So I'm going to leave a link in the show notes or in the description of this video for you to check that out. And it would be an honor and privilege to see you there. I'm going to be doing like live videos with kind of these little trainings and discussions amongst the group members about going deep together. So I invite you to do that. And that will be launching next week. So come and join us. But with that being said, I really want to give you some actionable steps to apply some of the things that I've shared here today. So creating space for self-awareness. Look in your day, choose 10, 15 minutes, put that aside to just be in stillness and check in with yourself, see how you're doing, what your mind, body, and soul is craving in that moment. Start to trust your intuition in the small moments, in the small decisions, like of what I'm going to have for breakfast this morning. Should I have this or this? Play that little intuitive game and see where you feel the focus to be and act in alignment with that. Cultivate those self-love and trust and hope by when you're getting those intuitive hits, when you're feeling something in your gut, acting in alignment with it, right? And starting to give yourself permission to cultivate those things in your life and acting in alignment, asking yourself, what are the things that feel like they add to your life in a positive way? And what are some things that you're ready to release that are no longer in alignment with you? Become aware of that and act in alignment with it. As you can see, there's this overall arching theme today as I'm listing this to you, listing this all back for you, of the awareness and the action. Merging that together is such a beautiful act of self-love. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I'll upload a new video on Thursday. See you in the next one. Bye.